Welcome to Wrestling Talk. Today we're going to talk about top 10 wrestlers who I could think. It's actually top 10 new and 10 old wrestlers who should face John Cena. We're going to start with the old and go down to the new. But the first thing I want to say is this is a top 20. Watch to the end. So, in no particular order, who's going to be his last opponent at Wrestlemania? Number 1 of the old. I have reasoning with this one. They never had a feud, but honestly, I think Rey Mysterio. Hear me out on this one. I know it's a little bit crazy, but Rey Mysterio, what counts as old, has been there more than 5 years. Okay, so Rey Mysterio, because John Cena beat him for the World Heavyweight Championship, and Rey Mysterio never got another opportunity at it, and I think I would be mad about that. So they could feud over that. Hey, I never got the opportunity to face you ever again, and I want to be your last opponent. Number 2, Kevin Owens. This one, a little more explanatory. They had a little mini feud when Kevin Owens first started, and I think it would be good to revisit that now that Kevin Owens is a little bit more matured into the business. In addition, the third one, this could happen. The third one is Seth Rollins. They had like a very interesting feud, and plus he was the only one that he beat. They never really finished. I think they never really truly finished their rivalry, I think. So I think that would be a good opportunity to do so. Number 4, AJ Styles. AJ Styles and John Cena have been feuding back and forth for a couple of years, but I think that AJ Styles would be a good person to retire him. Mostly because they had a feud before. It was a good one. They feuded over a few pay-per-views, and I think it would be a good opportunity for. The next one is Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes just seems like the perfect last opponent for John Cena. Mostly because they're both fighting for something that they feel that is very important. And I feel like Cody Rhodes would be a good option, but John Cena should not necessarily beat his last opponent, but it should be someone who needs elevating. Cody Rhodes doesn't really need elevating. Number 10 would be the highest out of the old ones. Not impossibility, but just the one that I feel makes the most sense. The next one, you never know what could happen. So Sheamus and John Cena had a feud for the WWE Championship. Their feud was good and long, and I feel like it just makes sense for them to finish each other's story. And to make matters worse, I think John Cena should win the Intercontinental Championship and have the Intercontinental Championship on the line at WrestleMania, so Sheamus could finally win the title. So, because John Cena did it, he's a Grand Slam champion, so then do the same for Sheamus, you know. Number 7. This one doesn't make much sense, but it's Kurt Angle. Now that Kurt Angle is unlikely, but in the perfect world it would be, and him and John Cena could finally have a match because now John Cena got further in his career and Angle's also further along in his career, and it just makes sense. Number 8, CM Punk. They had a long feud over the summer for the WWE Championship. They had good matches. So I think it would be a big mistake not to have CM Punk be one of his last opponents or face him at Wrestlemania. Number 9. Of course, Triple H and John Cena could retire each other in their career and double retirement match. And Triple H could wrestle his last match against John Cena, someone who has a great rivalry with Triple H. They have plenty of good matches. It just seems like the perfect fit to end Cena's career with old rivalry. So number 1, of course, is someone who started out around the same time as him, Randy Orton. It seems like it would almost be perfect to have them face each other because they were enemies again and again and again. Okay, now let's go into the new people who I think John Cena could face. Number 1, this one is I don't think LA Knight. LA Knight deserves to have the final match with John Cena. It could be argued. I think they could have a neat little feud. LA Knight has been there not quite over 5 years, but he's definitely needs a little more elevating. He has the United States champion. He is a champion, but beating John Cena in his final match would definitely do a lot for his career, because John Cena's goal is probably to lose his last match. That's the reason why I'm picking new young talent. With the same thing being said, John Cena and technically not new, but a new character Bo Dallas is playing, Uncle Howdy. I'm counting this as new because Bo Dallas quit and came back and played Uncle Howdy now. So John Cena versus Uncle Howdy would technically be new since it's a new character. I'm not going to count it as old, but John Cena's last match should be something meaningful, and Bo Dallas being the opponent after he just returned seems to be a good thing, okay? Number 3, John Cena versus Carmelo Hayes. Hear me out. Carmelo Hayes is talented, and I feel like he could get a good match with John Cena, just like John Cena would want to put someone younger over. I feel like he's a good option. Number 4, obviously not new to the WWE roster or anything, but I think I feel like, hear me out on this one. Not Apollo Crews. I feel like it should be, someone new enough, but not too new. So maybe I would consider him new. He was from Andrade del Idolo, even though he's been there for years. For a few years he left. So I'm going to consider him new enough. He could be a good retirement match for John Cena, just because he seems to have very good matches with a lot of people. Dominic hasn't been there 5 years quite yet, so Dominic counts as someone new enough to be on this list. Dominic is part of the Judgment Day, so realistically, that would be good enough. Number 5 would be Dominic, because I feel like John Cena versus Dominic Mysterio wouldn't be the best match necessarily, but it would be enough to make Dominic get a little bit more over as a villain, and having him actually have a decent match definitely would help in that matter. And John Cena can deliver classics with new people. Think about Rusev. Okay, number 6. Number 6. I feel he's not a WWE wrestler, but since they have a partnership with Impact Wrestling, I definitely see maybe Joe Hendry doing it. If you don't know who Joe Hendry is, he's basically Elias. He sings, but makes fun of the wrestlers and makes songs about them. If you don't know who he is, and he's a pretty funny wrestler for what I've seen of him. But him and John Cena definitely could be a match to be looking forward to, even though he's not part of the WWE roster. Okay, number 7. I feel like this could have the opportunity to be one of John Cena's not greatest matches, but a very good one. Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker seems like he would be the perfect opponent, almost, to retire John Cena, because, John Cena has careers beating monsters and stuff, like all of them, but I feel like John Cena versus Braun Breaker would be a good match to send John Cena off on, mostly because Braun Breaker is quite talented already. Number 8. Ilya Dragunov. I feel like Ilya Dragunov is talented and could have a good match with John Cena. And if you want to give his last match a stipulation, it could be a flag match. Russia against America, basically. They could bring that into a wrestling. Number 9. Not surprisingly, as I said, this counts new enough to me, considers either being called up or new. I'm going to consider this person new enough. Damian Priest. Damian Priest and John Cena, I feel like, could have a good match. But I don't know what the story would be going into it. And number 10, the person I think is most likely, ladies and gentlemen, I demand your respect for your World Heavyweight Champion, the Ring General, Gunther. Gunther versus John Cena. Now that match would absolutely be good, and that's the reason why I feel like John Cena would be willing to put Gunther over in a match for the world title in his last match. Goodbye.